trial date has been scheduled in the case of Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan. She's accused of helping a man escape immigration authorities. In federal court today, the judge ruled her trial to start on December 15th, with jury selection on December 11th and 12th. The trial is expected to last about a week. If you don't remember this case, Judge Hannah Dugan was arrested in April and indicted on federal charges in May. She argued that her charges should be dismissed because she was working in her official capacity as a judge and therefore immune to prosecution. Last week, the judge rejected that argument, saying the case should go forward. If convicted, she faces up to 6 years in prison and a $350,000 fine.